Oh, hey, how we doing? How we doing, everybody? Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I wrote notes about this. I'm so glad I wrote notes about this. And this is why I tell you guys to freaking have a journal next to you and, be involved in self-mastery and pay, excuse me, and pay attention to what your inner guiding system is telling you. All right, because you'll notice the tricks, all right, the trickery that's the best way to describe it. It's trickery. It's full, it's blatant trickery. And I will say to those who are involved in trickery, well done for a fool who thinks that others are blind. Well done for a fool who thinks, for the fools who think others are blind. And I just can't help but notice that these people tend to be a certain color. I am so sorry. I'm not trying to sound racist, all right? But why is it always that? And actually, they are a certain color, okay? They are a certain skin tone, and they are a certain breed. They are a certain species. It's typically males. What the hell? Typically males, or sometimes females. All right. Anyways, it don't matter because I seen that same trickery that I'm about to talk to you guys about right now. How to spot it, how to avoid it. All right. I've seen that same trickery in others as well. So it's not always the same kind of people, but anyways, it's the same kind of people. If you want to say if by people you mean the same breed of of being and character and personality. Okay, what are we talking about, Pedro? Spill the beans already. Okay, it's real easy, guys. All right. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but when it comes to moving into an elevated state, we're talking about us as humans, how we are moving into an elevated state of existence and the resistance that we are meeting from an old dying the bones, as Terence McKenny would say, the bones of an old dying world, and the resistance and the trickery and manipulation that these beings or whatever you want to call them, because honestly I don't even think they would qualify as humans at this point, but hey, I'm no one, I'm not Anubis or anything. I'm not here to, you know, bring to their awareness their eternal damnation that they're building for themselves. No. I'm here to let you, the awakened ones and the ones awakening, realize that, hey, if you notice this, you're doing great. Keep doing great. Keep learning and just brush it off. All right? Because at the end of the day, someone said it. It was something I was reading. But those kinds of manipulations, those kinds of people, those kinds of efforts always get thwarted. They always get thwarted. They always lose. So, in essence, these beings who are involved in such tactics are involved in their stuff. They literally are involved in a repeating hellish cycle. So, our job is to basically surpass that. All right. And if you're sensitive to that with your family or friends, whatever, then that's good because then it gives you an awareness of how to do or take actions or say certain things, and how to, do them in a way or in a manner that actually elevates your consciousness and those of others around you, right? Now, manipulation is done in so many ways. There's gaslighting, okay, and it is done with emotions. And so these people, these beings, whatever they are, because they look like people, and they're at this point I really don't know if I can call them people. But anyways, these beings, okay, take emotion and believe emotion to be a tool for manipulation. And they believe that somehow they can get away with it and that somehow it works. I don't understand. And if I when I try to step into that position, I'm like, that is foolish. It is so foolish to try to take emotion, all right, and use emotion to spread falsehoods or to spread false news for their own business agendas. Because that's what they are doing, all right? You guys know who I'm talking about. That's what these people do. Again, I don't even think I should call them people, but whatever. You know who I'm talking about. That's what these freaks, because those are the real freaks, all right? That's what these freaks of nature do. They are business minded only, money minded. They are so trapped in that world of what they think is power and control, and they involve themselves in these dirty, disgusting tactics to manipulate individuals emotionally. This is what, shout out to Infinite Waters, this is what is known as the problem reaction solution. All right. And so they take this problem reaction solution, which is known as, let's see. Okay, I'm trying to remember what it is. All right. But this is basically a usage of fear, right? Because these people are stuck in their own fears. All right. There it is, the Hegelian dialectic. All right. And the Hegelian dialectic is like this. On the top, you have an agenda. You have a problem, a reaction, and then a solution. Okay? And this is applied to many different things. All right? And they use your emotions because they think that because they understand emotions, or they think they understand what emotions is, and so they see emotions as a way to manipulate, not realizing that emotions are actually our own guiding system. When we are in tune with our emotions, then no emotional influence that they try to do can actually thwart or veer us off of our paths for towards elevation, towards awakening, towards truth, etc., etc., etc. Your truth, my truth, and how our truths can come together to create a beautiful world. And the example that I've seen this in is I was watching this video, and basically this was talking about several sources of energy. Uh, Now, what's interesting is in this video, uh, one of the things that was being mentioned, like side remarked, like you could catch it, all right? These are the same people who try to study neuro-linguistic patterns, all right, and think themselves gods and manipulators and, you know, the shit basically, because they understand this and try to use it in ways of fear for their own agendas, all right? And like I said, to those people, good for you for acting the fool, for being the fool. I'm an even greater fool. I don't even know what's going on, all right? So, anyways, problem, reaction, solution. This is the Hegelian dialectic, okay? And the idea is to pry on your emotions. Use your emotions to manipulate your ways of thinking, and use your emotions to basically close you off from what your emotional guiding system knows is a truth, all right? So in other words, they take the emotion, all right, and they use that as a way to cause mental confusion, all right? Because your emotional guiding system will immediately tell you, okay, that is complete BS. So there's something else going on there. And it's what people call there's an agenda there, all right? Now, I had made a video a while ago talking about how people tend to focus on agenda this and agenda that. And I understand this, I understand that, you know, but as I do say, don't get so caught up on what these people's agenda is. All right, that's just a reminder. That's just a friendly reminder to all of you that when you do see that kind of agenda of people trying to manipulate things to keep us in the low, or what they think they can keep us in a low state of existence, all right? Because all they're thinking about is how they can keep their money, how they can keep their power and the system and the matrix that they currently, the culture and all that they currently do. This applies to culture, society, and everything, modern society, etc. So that's how they look at that, all right? They look at it in the form of power and control versus actually all of us coming together, living freely, and living in, just being awesome ourselves. So your emotional guiding system is going, as Abraham Hicks, your emotional guiding system would will always tell you when something's not right here. And I'll give you guys several examples. Here are the examples. All right. Let's talk about, I'll give you one example. There's the topic of dogs, animals having a plant-based diet, particularly dogs, cats. There is tons of people who have their animals and have seen with their animals, companions, how their plant-based diet does help them. There are those who have failed. Okay. Now, someone with an agenda will see that part of failure, and if their agenda is to continue to sell meat, then they will have all the hyped up emotional reasons as to why to tell you to not consider that whatsoever. The same can be said for the opposite. All right. There are people who are just, they're like, you have to go plant based, period. And, there's no compassion for people who are learning about it. And so they'll emotionally do that. It comes in many shapes and colors. It's very interesting. So there's an agenda for that. Now, which is beneficial, if there is a benefit, then yes, you want to look into it. All right. And then you want to experiment for yourself. How would you feel? How do you feel on a plant-based diet? Go experiment. Everyone who's done the plant-based diet, pay attention to your own body. And the majority are going to tell you, you feel great. All right. Now, I'll give you guys another example. I love using this example. There's the example of the man who had a relationship with his dolphin, a dolphin out in the open water. The dolphin was basically his girlfriend. This does tie in with people and their relationships, where they feel they have more intimate relationships with the animal realm. And obviously, if you step into their shoes, if you listen, and if you have something in your past to relate to, then you can easily understand why that is, and you can have compassion for that, and you can even learn what the lesson is in that. And obviously, the lesson for those who have reflected on that is that we should have that same kind of love towards each other, and we are all basically one, that the form is not important, that it is the being within. All right. So, whatever. You don't have to do exactly what that man does or what other people do, but just understand what it's teaching us. So, you'll have that topic, right? And you'll have people who they call themselves animal rights activists, right? And their agenda, these same people who are animal rights activists believe in cutting off, but even spaying and neutering, completely unnatural, completely monstrous, all right? But we'll go ahead and talk about how horrible it is that there are certain people who have a more intimate relationship with the animal realm. So same vice versa. All right. You'll see people like that, and they won't have compassion for those, all right, who understand that. And then there's an agenda for that too. All right. You have to be able to step in. This is why walking the middle road, being in that point of neutrality, is very important, because then you can see both sides on wherever, and you can see where they're coming from. And then you can extract the good, and you can move towards the elevation. Obviously, yes, you want to embrace the idea and the concept that, and the reality that, yes, we are all one. Love can be experienced with all of the world and all of nature, because we are part of nature. You also don't want to just turn it into something that basically objectifies or any person or any being too, because that's another thing. And that's another combo in itself, because when you look at nature itself, nature doesn't take romanticism the way humans have taken romanticism, where it's all pleasure based, and nature actually understands how to use the energy. All right. In other words, it does not confine itself to what we know as the lower chakras. All right. The lower centers of energy. All right. That's one way where people take one agenda, or people take one thing and use that to push their agenda. All right. And well, these are the people who justify. See, we always say that if it's love, cool. If there's love, cool. If it's not love, then let's look at it. All right. But if it's love, let's look at what's going on there. All right. The man and his dolphin, is there love? Yes. Are there people around the world where see that and they don't see that for love? They see that as objectifying, or they see that as an opportunity to objectify. In other words, get lost in lust or whatnot. Yeah, that already exists with humans. So that's why we learned a lesson there. So what's the point of that story? The point of that story is that you understand that, okay, there's something deeply moving that's going on here. And in order for you to know that it's deeply moving, you have to pay attention to your heart. All right. Not to your sexual organs. You got to pay attention to what your heart says. Okay. And so when you see that, okay, when you understand those stories, then you understand that the people who argue against that, or the people who argue against I'll give you another example. There's the idea of zoos, getting rid of zoos, okay, and like letting animals roam free, any animal. There's the idea of dogs and cats being able to roam, building safer cities or modern towns or whatnot, or villages that is more harmonious with nature, where the nature can roam around and come in and out of the home anytime, be surrounded by nature, be in nature, and they always have food and water, and they're always welcome anywhere. All right. There's that. Okay. And then you'll see people who pay close attention here. You'll see people who see that whole concept, and you see people who talk about the getting rid of the zoos and these attractions where animals are enclosed in certain areas. And along that's something good, because we want freedom, and we all want freedom, and we all want to be loved, right? Yeah. So you got something that's good, but there are those who see that, all right, and the only thing they're thinking is, oh man, that's bad for business. And so their agenda is going to be to highlight everything bad about that man, for example, everything bad about those people, everything bad about why we shouldn't have animals be free, all right, in nature as they belong. They'll highlight everything there, and they'll come up with so much, I am so sorry, but they'll come up with so much BS, all right, bullshit, all right, as to why, no, that we can't do that, all right, because so-and-so, and they'll create the most craziest arguments for it too, that are not love-based. You can tell it's not based on love. It's not based on the values of love. It's not based on the values of freedom. It's not based on abundance, all right? It's based on money. You can tell, all right? I'll give you guys another example, all right? But that's one example, and those people will go ahead and they'll be like, oh, we can't have that because, this and that, and it's a danger for humans and blah, blah, blah. Yet, at the same time, you have people who go out into natural areas, and their idea, I think it's in Australia, they have a truck and people are in this truck, and this truck has a protected cage that people could be in so they can see the animals in their natural habitat. Wow, that's intelligence, right? Cool. So this is why it's so important to reflect, do as much research as possible so you can separate the BS from the factual. All right, and separate the monetary and limiting hellish world versus the actual loving and free being world. I'll give you guys another example. The other example. You guys are gonna love this one. Okay, because these are the topics that are like circling, right? The other example is vegans, plant-based diet, and animals, and the pain of animals, and the pain of plants. All right? You'll have people, here's an agenda for that. You'll have people who are like, oh, there's a plant-based diet, but the plants are in pain, and then they'll use the plants in pain or the plants experiencing pain as a way to be like, no, then if the plants can be independent, we have the right to kill these animals and eat them, even though they've never asked for us to kill them. And if you do enough research, someone who does enough research, someone who's woke, all right, will do enough research and realize that yes, these plants do feel, all right. At the same time, the way these plants handle all of that is completely different. Plants can feel, all right, they'll feel like for a moment, they'll feel like a certain way, okay? But yet at the same time, they always have the power to, in other words, bounce back, all right? In other words, if a plant is burned to ashes, okay, then those ashes become another plant. So obviously, that in itself, all right, for all the spiritual deep divers, if you look at it in the spiritual context, because yes, it's all spiritual, that in itself is an example that it is all only life, all right? It is life-giving. Nature itself is life-giving, life-producing. So therefore, when we consume nature and the fruits and the plants that are given to us, the fruits and the vegetables, all right, then we are actually involved in that life-giving process, all right? This is also why you have some people talking about consuming their own placenta, something we've recently bumped into as well. So all of these, and keep listening because this gets super interesting. It's super interesting when you actually look at these stories and you look at them from a point of neutrality, and it's like, oh wow, okay, there's an extreme over here. It's 12:21 right now, and we just saw this thing was 21:12. This is interesting. All right, very interesting. So when you look at these stories and you look at all the sides of these stories, you can find that balancing point, and you can find the factual and the loving and the abundance versus the lies that are only created for business. All right. There are people who will use that and be like, oh, those people who are talking about this are using this as an agenda to get away from business and trying to harm it all this. And they'll thrive and use your emotions to make you believe that. Anything I mention, I invite people to always follow your heart, pay attention to what your heart is telling you, because you have your own processes to learn. I'm just sharing with you guys what I've learned along my journey and what I continue to learn. Let's use another example. All right, so we just use the example of someone said it that they say veganism or a plant-based diet uh, creates deforestation. The fuck? You guys heard that right? Yeah, a plant-based diet. You ever heard that one, Albert? Give me a second. You ever heard that one? The one that says a plant-based diet creates deforestation. Exactly. So you hear that? You'll hear people be like, see, this is how those people who are business-minded only, who are unnatural, all right? This is why I wonder whether they're humans or not, okay? I could be wrong. Okay, maybe they are. I don't know. Only time will tell, right? This is why people see that, and these people who think only in terms of business, all right, use all of the real, in other words, the issues that we have actually awoken to, right? These people or these beings who are attached to those worlds of culture, rules, money, and all that other stuff will use those same issues and flip the argument to make it seem that you're the one doing the harm. That you're the one doing the harm because you are plant-based. That you're the one doing the harm because you have a more intimate relationship with nature. That you're the one doing the harm because you are either gay, bisexual, or lesbian, or what the case may be. That you're the one doing the harm because you want to drink so much water. That you're the one doing the harm because you are thinking about renewable source energy. That you're the one doing the harm to these fishes and whatnot because you want to plant crops and you want to plant more vegetation. All right, that you're the one doing the harm to the environment because your efforts in planting is creating CO2 and all that effort is being combined. Boop! Oh my God. Bullshit, 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 straight out the wazoo. All right, it is straight BS. You guys have to. This should be no surprise. there should be no surprise. All right. And this isn't a surprise, to be honest. All right. To many of you, it's not a surprise. To others, it's like, oh, wow. To others, some of you, it's like, what? Oh, snap. I knew it. Yeah, you knew it. All right. Th- it's absurd. It's rubbish. It's absurd, the efforts these people do. All right. This is this. And when you look at how much stuff is on the internet, this is why you have to experience things on your own. All right. You heard the man with you hear the story about people who have a much more deeper relationship, much more meaningful relationship, all right, a relationship that's not sexualized with the animals. Go listen to that and maybe go learn it yourself. All right, see what you can learn. You hear the stories about people who have a much more energetic energy because they have a plant-based diet, all right? But then other people are telling you that, no, you get malnourished. How about you try a plant-based diet, all right? You try a plant-based diet and you see how you feel, all right? When I went plant-based, all right, so on occasion, sometimes I break my rules with some chocolates and candies and whatnot. But when I went plant-based, I had to transition, right? So for those who are transitioning, obviously we need to have compassion. We still got to practice compassion. But we at the same time, you cannot let yourself be fooled. All right? Same time, you cannot let yourself be fooled. All right? Again, it's so simple. The people who talk to you, the people who embrace a more let's talk about something in the political spectrum. All right. Universal basic income. All right. You have universal basic income, right? And in the universal basic income, the idea is that everyone has a basic income, but it does not stop you from making more. It's like playing a game. You have a basic income for the basic necessities, all right? You also have the idea of planting more gardens for the basic necessities. You also have the concept and the reality that all these basic necessities are already free, so all we have to do is live in harmony with nature. And then all this other stuff, money and all this other stuff, can be used for extra, like playing a game, all right? And how? Because I mentioned this before in my other video, and if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Economies versus necessities, okay? Right? Yeah, economies versus necessities. And I mentioned how money and all this other stuff can be used for like extra things, for like gaming, like you're playing a game, all right? But not to take away from what is already naturally given to us, whatever is natural, all right? It's natural for us to be and feel at home by sleeping around in nature, or we want to sleep in the forest or whatever the case. It's natural if you want to go climb that tree. It's natural if you want to go have a plant-based diet. It's natural if you want to be surrounded by your animal friends, all right? It's natural if you want to go have more alkaline water. It's natural if you want to, for example, go travel the world, all right? It's natural for you to have this freedom, all right? And everything else is just extra, okay? And the cool thing about extra is that it's unlimited, all right? The ability to create and the amount of creativity and customization and designing that goes into all these extra things is unstoppable. It's unlimited. It's infinite. It never gets old. It never gets tired because it's just another skill or something you can work on. Even sports and games. Sports are always, new sports are created, new games, things we can do with each other is always created. Football was a new idea. Soccer was a new idea based on an old idea that was played in the Mayans and the Toltecs. All right, some of you Disney people, you remember El Dorado, and they played that game where that's an actual game, and other things stemmed from that. So this is why when you take that into consideration, this is why when you hear people say that nothing is really new, it makes more sense, all right? Because you realize that, oh, okay, so nothing is new, it's just made in a different way so that it can be fun and another way to express itself. You, me, expressing itself. And nature, all of us, expressing ourselves, expressing our joy, expressing our emotions, expressing our love, all right, for our own life and the life around us, okay? So going back to the political spectrum of how this can be done in the political spectrum, the UBI, basic income, all right? You have bare necessities, the things that are naturally given. And you'll have people who come up with the most BS, elaborate arguments as to why. And of course, they'll use emotions to make it seem, or they'll try to use emotional manipulation, all right, to make it seem like you're the one who's at fault for trying to live more in harmony with everybody where nobody has to suffer because of money. No, it's your fault. It's your fault the economy is doing bad. Oh my God, it is such a joke. It is such a joke. And this is what they call the joke of life. Because when you get to a point when you start waking up and you start to see all this stuff and you just observe, you're like, okay. Oh, okay. Then you just laugh at it. Then you just laugh at it. Because then you realize that, oh, okay, these efforts made by these beings to confine and control have always been thwarted by entrepreneurs, by spiritualists. And so the power is within you. Okay. It's like, I'll give you guys another example. Another example is oh Lord. So we're talking about agendas and we're talking about how people use certain things to make it seem a certain way that is not, right? To play a facade, okay? Clinging on to this control or power that they think they have. When people were talking about UFOs and technology and all that other stuff, and people started getting more deep, it was no surprise to me and many of you that all of a sudden, somebody from supposedly a governmental position wants to come out and be like, oh yeah, we knew about that stuff all along. Yeah, we knew about that. Yeah, we got this, we got that. Yeah, we knew it. We're this and that. Yet at the same time, those same people that claim that, oh yeah, we knew about this, can't stop themselves from being hacked by other hackers. The hell? So again, this is the big joke of life. There are so many things that as you start to grow in your spiritual journeys and your journeys of personal development, you're going to notice, oh wow, this is hilarious. This is ridiculous. There's just so many examples of how that is. All right. Now, this kind of manipulation, unfortunately, you do see it in family, sometimes with friends, in certain circles. All right. And if you notice it and you start to doubt yourself, then you want to actually consider changing your circle. All right. You want to be around people who encourage you. You want to be around people who encourage you and push you to be better. All right. But not people who are trying to doubt you. All right. And this kind of doubting and gaslighting is easy to do with family because, like one of my other buddies have mentioned before, is like with family, it's easy because that's your family. And you're always going to be able to count on them for support, right? So it's easy for family to want to do that, but it does not make it right because then that just means that we're playing two faces. We're doing two faces. We're one way with family and friends, but then we're another way with the world around us. No, it should be loving, period, for all the world and for yourself, for everyone. So if you have to take a break and you're someone who finds yourself in that position, then listen, take a break, go somewhere else, and you'll be fine. Especially if you're someone who, your faith, and I'm not talking religiously, I'm talking about your faith. You believe in the power of love. You believe in the power of love's healing. You believe in how the universe is always taking care of all of us and all of its creations. You believe in that and you do what you need to do for yourself while maintaining that belief within yourself, for yourself, and for those you love. And then, of course, it's no surprise that you find that, oh, okay, they're actually doing really fine. They're not doing as bad as they thought they were, or as bad as they thought they were going to do. So it's interesting. It's very interesting, all right? But yeah, that's what you guys have to notice, okay? Well, that's what a lot of you have probably already noticed, and here is just me confirming to you that, hey, yeah, if you have noticed that, then you're good. Waking up. You're starting to wake up. Right? No, I do not promote Zephyr Hills. Okay. If anything, I promote more alkaline water. Yes. I'm just using this bottle. But anyways, yeah. Long ass video, but I had to make it because it's just so hilarious. It's so hilarious how often I see this in the online world, and it's so funny. And what triggered this was someone had mentioned about water power, using the stream of the water and the movement of the water stream to power something. And then an idiot, all right, was like, I swear, it's like these people are hired idiots, or they're just idiots. An idiot was like, oh, yeah, or maybe just a troll because they just like to troll. Oh, yeah, your power from a stream. Oh, you think that's good? Tell that to the. They created some bullshit. They said, tell that to the fishes that died running into into your wooden turbine thing that powers your your water mill. Tell that to fish that die running into your water mill. In other words, trying to pry on the person's emotions, all right, to make them think that no, you're the one who's messed up for using clean energy. No, you're the one who's messed up because your clean energy is killing all the animals. Oh, because you're inconsiderate about the animals with this clean energy. This is when I saw that. This is why I said I have to do this video again because I got to do this again. I got to make another video of this again because it's rampant online, um, and you just gotta be mindful of the online, what you see online versus what your heart is actually telling you. Okay, and know to distinguish between if you to do this, you have to work on making sure you have what is known as brain and heart coherence. Some call it brain and heart coherence. Some call it You could just call it harmony harmony between the brain and the heart. When you center in on the heart space, okay, the heart space has a mind of its own. Okay, your brain is kind of like a satellite to the heavens. All right. So your heart space has a mind of its own. All right. It's connected to the brain. It's also connected to the lower chakras. All right. I got another friend who I would definitely encourage you guys check out his channel. I'll put it there in the description. You guys check that out. All right. But something I have definitely learned along my journey is that your heart has a mind of its own. Okay. Your heart is the center mind. Okay. And everything else spans off from the heart. So when you're being born, when you're being created in the womb, you have the heart, okay, and the way it grows, it grows either you can call it vertically or horizontally. Either way, it's a stretching that happens when you are being born. All right, you start from the center and you expand, and in this expansion, you have the heart, and it's coming from the center and it's expanding to the brain and to the lower area as well, from your upper body to your lower body. So the heart is the center. The heart is your center plane. The heart is the center of the universe. All right. The heart is where the internal universe, where it all goes, where it all happens. And why do we know this? Aside from what we have come to understand between people who have meditated and focused in on the heart space, you also have to recall what our ancient ancestors have said. And that is that the mind is a great servant, but a poor master. Okay, that's how it's said. All right, the mind is a great, yeah. The mind is a good servant, but a terrible master. Okay, and that is true. This is actually an ancient Kemetic, all right, an ancient Kemetic principle. This is an ancient Kemetic concept. All right, this is a concept from ancient Kem. All right, our ancestors, they always said it. Okay, let me see here. Here's another thing you gotta also, touching back on agenda, ladies and gentlemen. Here's another thing you also gotta consider. There is agenda when it comes to spiritual enlightenment. All right, spiritual growth. Okay, and I say this because, for example, I'm reading something here and it says, think of the old cliche about the mind being an excellent servant but a terrible master. It says, this, like many cliches, so lame and banal on the surface, actually expresses a great and terrible truth. All right? So, depending on how you read that, you can see that as, in other words, I read that and I'm thinking, oh, okay, the word cliche. The word cliche is used to invoke other emotional. See, we put meaning behind a lot of our stuff. We put emotional meaning, we put intellectual meaning, all this stuff. And if you're not careful, people know how to people manipulate that so that they make it seem. I've seen people take this stuff and manipulate it to a point where they have you think that our ancestors were crazy. Yeah. In other words, they'll be like, no, the ancestors had it wrong. But ain't it funny that even with our elders, all right, they have a lot of knowledge. Obviously, everyone has a process that they have to learn on their own, and so that's what creates a clash sometimes, that we don't respect and honor that everybody has a unique process and a unique journey, because everyone has a unique expression and a unique color of the spectrum of the universe to share, all right, and express. And so it's no coincidence that elders do have wisdom, all right, but there tends to be a clash when someone's in the middle of their process, all right. And this is why we have to honor the processes of everybody. This is why we also have to keep in mind what Terence McKinney talked about when it came to culture, all right, because culture tends to tell you, no, it has to be a certain way. There may be certain good lessons to that your culture teaches, but you don't want to remain limited, all right, because what are we in our essence? In our essence, we are unlimited. We are eternal. We are infinite. All right. And so it is our duty, and it is your soul's duty to bring out. It is your duty as a being, all right, as the universe, as the spiritual being that you are. It is your duty and absolute responsibility to duty. You get it? Yeah, joke right there. Anyways, it is your duty to bring out that eternalness, all right, that love that is eternal, that permeates everything. It is your duty to actually be the embodiment and the living reality of that, all right? For some of you who have, sometimes you hear people talk about life and death, but yet you are about, wait, but infinity, 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 and, there's only life and the eternalness of what is. You're doing great. I'm just going to tell you, hey, you're doing great. Hold on to that. Reflect on that and just keep getting better, keep getting better, keep getting better. All right. So just keep in mind, there are people who have an agenda towards spiritual concepts. There are people who want you to become someone who is stuck to the brain. All right. To brain stuff. All right. They want you to compartmentalize the eternalness and the infinite of what you are, the wisdom. All right. You don't want to let yourself get into that. All right. And find out for yourself, as in fact. And when you meditate, get into the heart space. Tell me what wisdom actually becomes unlocked. And then tell me, get into the mind space. You'll realize, many of you, that when you start just getting into the brain, all right, into the mind up here, it's so much because it's receiving so much. All right. It's the satellite. That's why your hair is so important, because your hair is like a satellite. All right. It's crooked, right? Your hair is static. It's alive. Okay. So this is why you want to center in on the heart space. That heart space is that balance, that middle point, that neutral point. The heart space, you can say, is that middle pillar that would be referred to in the Kabbalistic cultures, in the Kabbalistic understandings of and wisdoms of spirituality. All right. The heart is also that middle way in Buddhist understandings. Okay. So use your heart. Your heart is the center. All right. Your heart is the center. And when you get into your heart, Your heart space is the only space, at least from what I've learned and I've come to understand that that heart space, when you center in on that heart space, that is the only space where you can actually experience what it is, what it means when people say the nothingness and the somethingness, because it's like a void. So it is that void, it is that power, that consciousness, that eternalness within that void, that intelligence, you can also say, that actually powers everything. We breathe in, we breathe out. There's the point in between. So that point in between, the only way you're really going to find out about it is to get into the heart space. All right? Eye on that one. Get into the heart space. All right? Get into the heart space. All right? I got no other way out. Get into the heart space. Right, when you get into the heart space, you'll see what I'm talking about. All right? Anyways, and you'll come up with new revelations for yourselves. All right? So yeah, that's about it. That's all I got for you guys. This is the longest video I've ever done. Oh my god, look at this thing. This thing is at 46 minutes. Hope you guys do appreciate that. I know a lot of you do. All right, and feel free to share it. All right, you like this? All right, yeah, I invite you to definitely subscribe. I'll have other things I talk about. Again, we go into all kinds of stuff. All right, we look at the spirituality of all things because all things are spiritual. Everything is spiritual. Everything is spiritual. It's all spiritual. I was once told that, oh, you get deep in everything, or you think it's all spiritual. And I had let myself be like, man, oh, maybe I took several life experiences, long story short, to make me realize that, you know what? Screw what they said. Yeah, it's all spiritual. It is all spiritual. Okay? So, yes, it's all spiritual. Feel free to share. Feel free to subscribe. All right? And if you guys got more questions, definitely leave your comments. All right? I like to look at what you guys have to say. All right? What you guys have learned, what you guys have experienced, what you guys are probably thinking about and reflecting on. And it gives me things to grow on as well. So this way we can all grow at the same time. All right? And connect with me on Instagram, connect with me on Facebook at this current moment, all right, depending on when are you looking at this video. All right, my Instagram, I just got to fix my phone and stuff, but you can still message me through Instagram. You can definitely get in contact with me through my Facebook pages as well. All right, do not email me. All right, don't email me unless, you know, we have like some kind of appointment set up for like some kind of session or speaking session or whatever the case may be from all the other from the services that I offer to people to help them in their growth and in their journeys. All right, but do connect me because I am definitely looking for more people who want to bring their understandings and wisdoms together, so that way we can actually open ourselves to advancements, to true progress, to true evolutionary steps. So that way, we actually, when the whole world realizes that what is needed for us to take, when the whole world realizes that what we need in order to actually jump light years ahead and eons and really merge ourselves back into the infinite here and now, right? And ascend. By the time the whole world realizes that, when we realize that what we need is to work together, bring all our brains together, we're going to look back and we're going to be like, why the hell did it take us so long? Hey, but don't worry. I guess in that point you can say better late than never. Because there really is no never. There really is no never. But also the future is now. And there only is now. So reach out to me. I'll see you guys soon. All right. Share, leave your comments. And thanks for joining me. All right. Connect with me on Facebook. And if you're interested in that, getting together and discussing more of this stuff, even things like human levitation and other great, crazy, wild ideas and inventions. Look, we all got something to offer. We all can learn and we can all put our heads. And of course, we always want to break down barriers and question and dig a little more deeper. When we do that together, man, we can make leaps. All right. So I'll see you guys soon. Peace. We're gonna let this thing get to 50:05 just because, and it's awesome. Peace.